Imagine this. You wake up tomorrow morning. Everything feels normal. You grab your phone, check your bank balance, maybe order coffee, maybe drive to work. But slowly, something feels wrong. Fuel prices suddenly jump. Groceries become more expensive. Flights cost more. Electricity bills rise. Your monthly budget starts collapsing. And you have no idea why. Because thousands of kilometers away, two countries are fighting: the United States and Iran. Now, you might think, how does a conflict in the Middle East affect my money? That's exactly what most people underestimate. Because modern wars don't just destroy cities, they silently destroy savings accounts. And in this video, I'll show you exactly how this conflict could slowly drain money from ordinary people all around the world, without them even realizing it. To understand this crisis, you need to understand one thing. The world runs on oil. Not just cars. Everything. Your food delivery, your online shopping, factories, airplanes, cargo ships, electricity generation. Oil is basically the fuel behind modern life. And there's one tiny location that controls a massive portion of global oil supply: the Strait of Hormuz, a narrow water route near Iran. Now here's the scary part. A huge percentage of the world's oil passes through this single route every day. So when tensions rise in that region, the entire world gets nervous. Because if that oil flow slows down, prices everywhere explode. And markets know this. That's why the moment conflict escalates, oil traders panic. And panic changes everything.
Now let's talk about the real enemy: inflation. This is where your money quietly starts dying. Here's how it works. When oil prices rise, transportation becomes expensive. When transportation becomes expensive, companies spend more money moving products. That means stores raise prices, restaurants raise prices, delivery apps raise prices, airlines raise prices, even your electricity bill can rise. Suddenly, the same amount of money buys less. That's inflation. And inflation is dangerous because it's invisible. Nobody steals cash from your wallet physically, but your money loses power. Imagine having $1,000 saved. Sounds good, right? But if prices suddenly rise everywhere, that same $1,000 now buys less fuel, less food, less comfort, less freedom. That's why inflation feels like financial suffocation. Slow, silent, constant. And wars are one of the fastest ways to trigger it. Most people think economic problems stay local. They don't. Today's world is deeply connected. One conflict can trigger a global domino effect. Oil prices rise, shipping costs increase, businesses panic, investors become nervous, stock markets become unstable, currencies weaken, governments struggle, and ordinary people pay the price. That's why even countries far away from the conflict still suffer financially, because modern economies are connected like giant chains. When one important link breaks, the entire system shakes. And during uncertain times, fear spreads faster than facts. People start spending less, companies become cautious, hiring slows down, economic growth weakens. Suddenly, life becomes harder for millions of families who had nothing to do with the conflict itself. Now, let's make this personal. Imagine you go grocery shopping. Last month, you bought everything comfortably. This month, the total feels painfully higher. Then your fuel bill increases. Then flight tickets rise. Then food delivery apps become more expensive. Then utility bills climb. At first, each increase feels small, but together, they slowly crush your monthly budget. And here's the worst part. Most salaries don't increase fast enough to match inflation. So even if you're working just as hard, you slowly feel
poorer. Not because you became lazy, not because you failed, but because the economic system around you changed. And millions of people experience this without understanding the real reason behind it. Global conflict, global fear, global inflation. Now comes the second financial attack: interest rates. When inflation gets out of control, central banks try to slow the economy down. And one of their main weapons is raising interest rates. Sounds technical, but here's what it means in real life. Loans become more expensive. Mortgages become heavier. Credit card debt becomes dangerous. Monthly payments rise. And suddenly, families already struggling with inflation now face debt pressure too. This creates massive financial stress. People delay buying homes. Businesses borrow less. Consumers spend less. Economic growth slows down even more. That's why global conflicts don't just create military tension, they create emotional financial pressure inside ordinary homes.
But honestly, the biggest damage might be psychological, because uncertainty changes human behavior. When people feel unsafe financially, they panic. They stop investing. They start hoarding money. They fear losing jobs. They fear the future. And when millions of people become fearful together, markets become unstable. That's why during geopolitical crises, you often see stock markets swinging wildly. Fear spreads faster than logic. Even experienced investors struggle emotionally during uncertain times, because humans are emotional creatures, and the economy is deeply connected to human psychology. The moment confidence disappears, financial systems become fragile. Now here's the uncomfortable truth. Whenever ordinary people suffer financially, someone profits. Oil companies can make massive gains. Defense companies can surge. Commodity traders can benefit from volatility. Meanwhile, average families struggle with higher living costs. And this is why financial education matters so much. Because if you don't understand how money systems work, you become vulnerable to them. The wealthiest people don't just earn money. They understand systems. They understand risk. They prepare before crises happen, while most people only react after damage is already done. So what can ordinary people actually do? First, build an emergency fund, because uncertainty is now part of modern life. Second, reduce unnecessary debt. High interest debt during inflation can become financially deadly. Third, don't make emotional investment decisions. Fear-based decisions usually create long-term regret. Fourth, focus on increasing your skills and income sources, because during economic uncertainty, people with only one income stream become more vulnerable. And finally, pay attention to global events. Not because you need to become obsessed with politics, but because economics affects your everyday life. Your fuel, your groceries, your savings, your future. The world is more connected than ever before, and smart people understand that financial survival is no longer just about earning money, it's about understanding the system itself. If this video changed the way you think about money and global events, subscribe to Wealthy Will, because understanding money today is survival tomorrow.
The first step to financial freedom is simple. You must prioritize earning more. Once you master this, budgeting and saving become much easier.